Bloomies, this is Leslie, and I am here at Zillow with Brett Calthrop. And Brett, why don't you tell us what you do?
Hi, my name is Brett Calthrop, and I'm Director of Industry Outreach at Zillow Group. And before that, I was Director of Consulting at a little company called Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate. So It's always good to talk to my BHG folks.
Thank you. And so what is it that you do as Director of Industry?
So for Industry Outreach, what I kind of do is I basically am a bit of an ambassador for Zillow to the industry in terms of telling the industry what we're doing and, more importantly, why. I come from a real estate background. I speak realtor and broker. So I basically go in to Facebook groups and conferences, etc., whether it's speaking or just being there, and just have conversations about what we're doing, the path we're heading in, and then I also do a fair deal of myth busting and answering questions. So I'm kind of like that hopefully friendly face that's out there, so that if you have a question about Zillow and you're like, hey, what's going on with this? I'm the kind of public face that's out there that people can reach out to, that I'm a human being and not like a call center and ask questions.
And that's so important. We appreciate having that face.
Like Zillow Wikipedia.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's the top myth you've been busting lately?
Oh goodness, where do I start? I guess the two big ones that I think I get the most. Number one is that we sell listings back to people. I think that's the biggest one that I get a lot. It's not so much a myth, it's just something that people say. And what I usually tell agents for that is, when you're a listing agent, you get all of the leads off of basically 3 websites: your own, your brand, and maybe if you're lucky, your brokerage. Every other website out there, you don't get those inquiries. There's 4, 5, 6,000 agents in your market that have all your listings, and it's not like when somebody asks about one of your listings, that agent goes, "Hey Jill, let me go ahead and send this over to you." It doesn't work that way, right? So
how does it work?
So how it does work is what we believed at the beginning. Obviously, we're business, we're not charity, but we have always been about transparency and choice for the consumer. So the thinking was, and we didn't invent it to be, when I got started in real estate in 2004, I ran RE/MAX brokerages. And RE/MAX was the first major franchise to put all the listings from all the different companies on their website. And they basically created, in my opinion, how lead gen works, which was, if it's a Century 21 listing, I'm going to send it to a RE/MAX agent, and that helps provide value to the agents who've chosen to do business with us. And I feel like that's kind of what we do. There's a subset of the market, and it's not a giant percentage of agents who choose to be premier agents, choose to work with us. And our duty is to provide a return to them on their investment. So those folks, we have a pathway to that, which is through the buyer agent selection. So if somebody wants information, if they just fill out the generic form, that goes to a buyer agent. But one thing I'm very proud that we do is we have the listing agent on those listings by name, and we don't charge for that. We've never charged people to put listings on, for sale listings on our site. So if you want to contact the listing agent, you can. You just click the little radio next to that person's picture and contact them directly, and we'll send that information to the listing agent based on the contact info we have for them. So,
and that's whether or not they're buying premier leads?
Yeah, you don't have to pay. So all you have to do is select the listing agent, and you can either call them or dial, and we call them selected leads, and that goes to those folks.
And why don't you tell the listing agents what can they do to have the best chance to be the one that the buyer selects?
Sure. Our data that we've seen, and you guys are fortunate because you're in a Zillow Offers market. If you pull up Zillow Offers listings, naturally they have been basically created to take advantage of our system. So we have optimized them in terms of where you show up in search and everything else. So if you notice that all of our listings have 3D home tour and professional photos and remarks that are this long, etc., if you do those things, then you're probably going to show up higher. Because what people don't understand is the first time a consumer goes in, that's the only time that screen will look that way, because every single thing that person does on the website will affect the listings they see. It affects their experience. It's constantly using machine learning and AI, constantly trying to figure out, based on what you're doing, what kind of property are we going to put out there on the platter that buyer is going to go, wow, I want to contact and talk to me about that. So that's probably the best advice I can give about that. The biggest question I get, just in general, beyond I guess that was more of the biggest complaint, I guess, is where's Zillow headed, right? Because for years we were just a search website, and that's what we did. And the history of Realtor.com and Yahoo and Zillow in that space, and Trulia is well documented. There was a need. One of our core values here is to turn on the lights. And when Rich was founding Zillow with Lloyd and Spencer was there, the reason why it's turn on the lights is back in the day when we had the listing books, which I'm old enough that we had listing books when I got into real estate. The thought was that an agent shines the flashlight in the dark on the listings that the agent wants that consumer to see. And so what happens if we turn on the lights and let the consumer see all the listings and then have more power in choosing the properties they're interested in? And if you look at, people focus on Expedia and alleged, what happened to travel agents, et cetera. I think the real story there is in each of the industries, it was you had proprietary data that was being in a database that you had to basically belong to a club or pay dues to get to, locked to. And if you had the code to that gave you value. And my argument has been that I think people like Zillow and Realtor.com have actually made agents better because they've helped to force that change in the value prop that, in my opinion, having access to a proprietary database that I pay X amount of dollars per quarter for is not a very strong value proposition. When I think of agents that I've worked with over the last 15 years that are great, they're educators and they're facilitators and they do all that stuff. And, despite all the gloom and doom that is out there, if you actually look at the stats, every year since Zillow's been in existence, the percentage of consumers who work with agents has increased, not decreased. And we actually did a study, and we found that I think it was 34% more likely for a consumer to work with an agent if they've used Zillow as part of that search than if they haven't. So, that an informed consumer, I think, is a good consumer, and I think it frankly, it has changed the job for agents, but I don't think it eliminates the job for agents. And I think, in my personal opinion, and Rich just said this at him in Las Vegas, I don't see a world where agents are gone. Now, do I see a world where some agents will bounce out? Well, yeah, I do. There's a lot of realtors right now.
That happens anyway.
Yeah.
Top thing Zillow's working on right now?
So I think what we have kind of tried to do is we want to try to make the home buying and selling experience just a bit more joyful. What can we do? Where are there points of friction that we can look at and say, whether it's on the mortgage side, whether it's on title, whether it's on the handoff to an agent or whatever it might be. And then obviously with Zillow Offers, it's a hassle to have your house cleaned all the time for showings. There's people that have lots of different circumstances where maybe they don't want people in their home or can't have people in their home, or you've got pets or whatever it might be. Whatever reason that person is like, I don't know if I want to do this and go through this process. There's a price that people will pay for certainty and speed, and to save time. And so when I think when you're starting to see now articles, and we're doing blog posts that we're creating right now about how to really work with iBuyers, make it work for you. And I think the mistake a lot of agents do is they focus too much on the gap in the equity. I think that the assumption that consumers don't know that they're leaving X dollars on the table, I think is not a great assumption, at least for our model, because we are very clear about, because we have the input from the listing agent that represents us. If I was going to list it, I would list it for this, and it's spelled out right there.
So do you give them that? Here's ours. Here's a wholesale.
Yeah. So basically, the way the process works is anybody can raise their hand for a Zillow offer if you own the house, and we send them a very quick automated, hey, tell us more about your house. So we ask them a bunch of questions. Once they do that, we generate a basic offer, just a ballpark. This is where we're thinking. But if that's okay with you, then we want to schedule a walkthrough and an inspection. After the full inspection, we have a whole team that's local. We don't fly them in from Seattle. They're all based in that market, and they go out, they do the inspection, they write up the inspection report, and then that's where the final offer comes. We don't negotiate it. This is the offer. This is what we can do. If you want to do this, you can choose your terms in terms of what day you want to close or that kind of thing. So it's a pretty seamless experience. And then if they don't want to sell and opt not to sell, and then we offer to introduce them to a premier agent. So that's basically if they're not represented. The other way to work with them is if you have the listing, and that's different from other companies. There are companies that will kind of pay a bird dog or a finder fee. Ours is, it has to be listed, which I personally find is very realtor friendly. So if you have that listing, you can submit it for a Zillow offer, and if we buy that property, you're paid by the seller per the terms of your listing agreement, just like any deal. Further, when we relist and sell, we offer a co-broke commission. It's in the MLS. So if your buyer decides, I want to buy that house, you can pay a commission like any other deal. So I think it's an experiment. It's very, very early to kind of see where that's going to go. There's obviously lots of different models and lots of different people looking at it. And now you're seeing, you're seeing the Keller Williams of the world and the Realogies and the Redfins who are trying to do it, and some together. So I think if the consumer demand is there, it will continue to be popular. If the consumers decide, oh, this isn't great, then we'll see what happens. But ultimately, I think the consumer is going to determine its success. And just to close on that, where I was starting to get to, but I want to explain the process, where agents talk too much about the price. I think I think you need to focus on the pain points and the problem that it solves more than a dollar figure.
Absolutely.
Because it might be worth $20,000 to me to solve for speed, convenience, quote unquote hassle-free, which has nothing to do with an agent, because an agent's still involved with Zillow offers. It's all the other stuff.
Right.
That's the reason we have listing checklists. There's a lot of stuff you got to do when you have a listing. So I think that if I was coaching agents again, or I was running our brokerage again, that's what I would really push on is, what can I do to try to address these pain points? Certainly educate myself on how they all work, but then that's the real problem to solve.
Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. No, I appreciate seeing you, and always good to talk. So if anybody ever has any questions, issues, etc., you're always welcome to message me. I get messages every day from people. And I'm Jedi Real Estate on social media or on Facebook. It's facebook.com/it's Brett, ITSBRET. Or just ask her and she'll find me.
I'll find her.
I'm always happy to help out.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.